Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the IAFF Kitchen Table. This episode today, we're going to be discussing an issue that's before the United States Supreme Court. The Janus case, Mark Janus, that took issue with AFSCME Local 31, and now the courts will decide whether or not individuals will be able to, quite frankly, freeload as opposed to being a member of their local union. And I'm really pleased to have with me today four terrific leaders from across the IAFF. We have Matt Alter, who's the president of Cincinnati Local 48 with us. Matt, welcome to the kitchen table. And Will Newton, who's president from Pinellas County, Florida, but also our 12th District Field Service rep.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, and thanks for being here. John Riddle, president of our Texas Association of Professional Firefighters. And John, we're so glad that you're here at the kitchen table with us today. As well as Jim Oleski from New Jersey, and who's the communications director for the Professional Firefighters Association of New Jersey. So I welcome everybody here. Today we just want to have a discussion about an issue that is could have a significant impact on our union, although we feel very confident about the service that we provide to our members, and hopefully their recognition of the value of this IAFF and their local and state bodies to their careers and to their families' security and future. But we do want to have this discussion to see exactly what the challenge will be should the Supreme Court rule in favor of Janus and in effect remove the opportunity to have agency fees within locals that collect them. And by the way, I should mention that the IAFF does not collect any agency fees, but we do have locals that do so. And whether or not a member is going to be able to decide to withdraw from their union. So we want to have this discussion today to see what some of our affiliate leadership has been doing over time. We want to recognize that we have hundreds and hundreds of affiliates in 20 states that already work under right to work and do so very successfully. And what are the strategies and that they use in order to keep their membership together. So let's just have this discussion, and I'm going to throw it to each of you, but I want it to be freewheeling. And Matt, why don't you start us off, because I know there's a little history in Cincinnati with this issue, and you had some challenges and you had some successes, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Cincinnati, we did have some challenges with regards to fair share process right around the turn of the century, which sounds kind of interesting. It sounds kind of funny to say, but right around the beginning of 2000, end of the 90s, 2000s, there were some internal issues going on within our local, and a number of members decided to withdraw from Local 48. Actually, over 200 members. It was dealing with racial issues at the time, and over 200 members got out. And then we ran into some issues with fair share. They didn't feel that they was being represented. Fair share, for those that aren't familiar with it, don't have it in their state, it's extremely expensive for local. It requires independent audits. It's very, very, very expensive, very costly process when you have somebody out of the local, because as the federal law says, we still have to represent them. So we had to, there was an audit involved, and actually the National Right to Work Foundation came in to represent the over 200 members, and we were on the hook for a significant amount of money due to this fair share lawsuit. With the help of the IAFF and through some diligent work, my predecessor in office, were able to come to a resolution, brought all members back, all 200 plus members back. We are 100% today in Cincinnati. Not only did we bring them back, we actually organized the assistant fire chiefs, the 5 assistant fire chiefs. They're in a separate bargaining unit under Local 48. So, we were able to get out to the members that were out and to the assistant chiefs to show them the value of being a member of Local 48, what it was to be a part of, not just at the local level, but at the state and obviously at the national level at the IAFF. And, we're 100% today. The Janus case is something that we're certainly, monitoring. Gives us, pause for concern, but it's something I think that we're definitely going to be able to overcome and tackle.
Well, there's some thought that, and I think a lot of truth to this, and with great pride. I mean, we have a very strong culture and a culture where we work as a crew. And yes, we eat at the kitchen table together, and we sleep in our dorms together. We jump the rigs together. Our work environment requires us to be together. And so will that, if you will, culture be the key point in a member deciding, well, you know what, I'm going to let you guys stay on the hook. I'm going to bail out. And so I don't take it for granted, but I am curious, and Will, I'm going to come to you because Florida is one of our most successful states, hundreds of locals, strong memberships, but a right-to-work state. So you right now work in an environment that Janus would bring nationally. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about the experiences in Florida and how your membership views their unions, and a little bit about the strength of your membership.
All right, so in Florida we have the right to bargain by way of our state constitution. We can all collect dues through our payroll system, and that makes a big difference. We have the exclusive rights to represent our members for our contractual issues, but also through discipline. We don't have binding arbitration for our negotiations, but we do have it for discipline. And I think that's another added value. Our members in Florida, the values there are our legislative process we have to go through at the state level and local levels to maintain our benefits and our pensions and our pay. It makes a difference, and our members can see that the local provides that for us. And many of the locals are in the 90 percentile, maybe even some are in the 100 percentile for membership.
Well, and you mentioned some of the value added, and John, I'm going to turn to you because I know as a state association, there's a lot of value you bring to the membership in Texas, as do our associations all across the United States and our provinces, quite frankly, in Canada. But the real question is, have we successfully informed our members that this IAFF and their local and their state really provides value to their lives? Do they really have an understanding that when our members on the front line taking care of the communities in a disaster like Hurricane Harvey, that their IAFF was there taking care of our members and their families? That when our members are dealing with some of the behavioral health challenges that we know is unfortunately significant within our ranks, that their union is really providing the kind of peer counseling and providing now a center of excellence for recovery and treatment. I guess my question is, are we doing a sufficient job, and how do the members in Texas view that their union really is providing them value?
Well, I think the members in Texas do understand that the international and even our state association is providing value to the members. Along with all of the services that the international provides, the state association is, our state association anyway, is a full service state association. So we provide assistance through staff with contract negotiations, contract grievances, and that kind of stuff, legal assistance as well. But if our members don't personally utilize those services, a lot of them don't know what's happening. So it's on us to make sure that we show our members around the state the value of not only the international but our state association. And we've been using a new communications program for the last 2.5 years now to try to get that message out better than what we've done in the past. And we do that through our website, through emails, but most importantly through social media. Because if you go into a fire station and look, everybody in there is sitting there with a phone in front of them. And that's what I've always said. If it doesn't come across that phone, they don't know what's happening. So we try to make it come across that phone.
Well, and we talk about value added, and I know at the state level we have states that have great presumption laws for heart, for lung, for cancer now for post-traumatic stress. We certainly at the federal level take care of our fallen with a very significant benefit to the families of our fallen. But the question is, do our members have a full understanding of that? And if they know about it, do they understand it's their union providing it at all levels? And so, Jim, knowing that New Jersey is a very strong collective bargaining state with a great union history, give us some sense from that environment about concerns or confidence that Janus, if decided, if you will, against the labor, may or may not bring.
From a confidence point of view, like you said, New Jersey's a very strong union place. It's in the culture. People understand what it's about. People recognize that being in a union has value. I think if there's a challenge, I think because of the strength of that culture, for a long time, a lot of our locals took for granted the need to have to essentially provide customer service to their members. They knew they were going to have 100% or near 100% membership. And it didn't, it just meant that they didn't have to constantly reinforce, the message of what your union is doing for you. It was just something that you could take for granted, that everyone was going to be a member and everyone was going to pay their dues, and you could focus on other things. So there's challenge and opportunity there. I mean, I think if there's a good opportunity that has popped up, like you said, and a change from what you said as far as members sitting around the kitchen table. I can tell you from my firehouse, we're at the kitchen table all the time, but all of us, have got the phone in front of me. And I've been on the job since 2007, and even in 2007, that wasn't like that. I mean, we were sitting around watching baseball. We were sitting around talking about union issues. We all slept in the same room. We were living on top of each other. And while that still exists in some ways, I now work in a firehouse where we all have our own bunk rooms, where we all have our own devices in front of our faces. We're watching different shows. We're certainly not talking about politics because that's a way to ruin dinner. So it is a challenge there on, okay, how do we reach people? Now, the good thing is we know we have captive audience because it's 6 inches from their face almost all day. It's just how do you get that message across? So I view it in two ways. There's challenges, but there's more opportunity than ever.
Well, certainly one of the things that we're doing here at the IAFF is we're, through our training programs and our affiliate leadership summit, with our communication capability now here at IAFF E18 Studios, and understanding that content now needs to be pushed out over the social media platforms, that we do need this improved communication. It's funny, but two of you mentioned about the phones, the individuals in the stations, and I know I've been doing station visits now for almost 19 years since I've been privileged to be allowed to hold this position. And I can say up until the last few years, I'd go in a station, and you're right, they'd be around the kitchen table, they'd be in the day room watching sports, and now they're scattered when I go into a station. And they're all individually getting their content and their information on their own devices. So the question is, tell me a little bit about how maybe each of you are addressing that, or are you addressing that communication connection with your membership? I'll throw it back to you.
Well, I guess I have a little bit of an advantage, although I'm at the tail end of it. I am considered a millennial, so I kind of relate on some of these issues. But it is a challenge, but it's something that we have to embrace. And I have to give a shout out here, or kudos to the IAFF and to Dr. Lori Moore. I think any affiliate leader, if they get the opportunity to take the class on generational differences, absolutely, learn about the generations, and that's going to form your base on here. How do we start formulating then our communication strategy? Get to the Communications Academy. There again, these are classes. These are things that our IAFF offers to our members. Get those in there. And I think we have an opportunity to grab the audience, to grab our new members and our members, even that may have been on the job 10, 15, 20 years, to reinvent our message, to get them in there, to get in front of them. Things that we've done, just 4 or 5 years ago, we had a Facebook page but didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. Started putting some money into it, started really pushing messaging out there, positive message out there though. We were very focused on positive messaging. I think on a bigger global scale, there's a lot of negative stuff. But we have to know our brand, and our brand is that we are firefighters. People like us. They like us. We're the likable part of public safety. So let's use that to our advantage. Get these positive stories out there. Get those stories out there about what your firefighters are doing. That hey, they use their own money to buy these kids backpacks, or whatever the story of the day may be. Get it on social media with a little bit of money through something like Facebook, or Instagram or others, you're able to push these stories out there. And like I said, a little bit of money, $50, $100 goes a long way. We're at 13,000 followers now on Local 48's Facebook page. We're actually a little behind the times, but on in Instagram. But that's something that we're getting back. We're going to get into is Instagram. And from a standpoint of trying to capture our local media market, Twitter, I don't think that you can get a better opportunity or better use of social media than Twitter, because it's almost like a direct page, because you can set up the alerts and you can target specific journalists or the media outlets and really get out your story of the day, whatever it is. And that's just it, the story of the day, the story of the week. Target that. And, don't pick a couple stories for the week and get that out there and show the work that your members are doing.
Well, Jim, I'm going to shift back to you because I know you've also been a recent graduate of our IAFF Communication Training Academy. And so picking up on Matt's comments and understanding, tell me how you're approaching and helping our affiliates in New Jersey approach better communicating what their union is about and what it's doing on behalf of their careers and their livelihoods.
I mean, I think echoing on the Communications Training Academy, Communications Training Academy is fantastic. First of all, it's it's current. It's at a high level. I tell people, I've had a lot of affiliates who said, hey, I want to send a guy, to this, and I say to myself, I said, your local doesn't even have a Facebook page. I said, this class is it's 100 miles an hour, and I think that's good because it needs to be. So with that, what I try to tell our locals is that kind of what you said. Your folks are doing all this great stuff every day. We used to have the advantage of, in most of our cities, municipal area communities, that we had a robust local media scene. You had a beat reporter, and you knew that the fire department, the fire service was that reporter's best friend. We don't have that in a lot of places anymore. The newspaper industry is a fraction of what it used to be from a staffing point of view, and so we lost a lot of that. So a lot of that is overcoming that, especially in our cities, that hey, you may not have the local newspaper that had 8 reporters and 6 photographers who covered you day and night, but you have the opportunity right now to have your own broadcast platforms, most of which are free and which can be enhanced with a little bit of money and some knowledge and staffing. So again, I try to communicate that there's opportunity, in all these places. So we're just trying to communicate to people, keep the message positive. Talk about what your people are doing. I always say that the best response you're going to get is when you say, talk about your people and the things they do.
Well, let me pick up on that, and John, I want to shift to you because I want to push on that a little bit because I understand the importance because it brings us our brand, influence, and power. And that's about pushing the work our people do out there to the communities. But this is a case where we've got to use these same skill sets and strategies internally, because this is about, are we adequately communicating with our members what you're a part of and why you should not only be proud to be a part of it, you should want to be a part of your union, as opposed to looking for a way to say, I want to get out. And so, John, right to work environment, I know working on a lot of communication strategies in recent times. Tell me about how you're communicating, if you are, about what the union is doing for
Well, in Texas,
our members.
like you said, and right to work, we've been working under this environment forever. And so a big part of our program and what makes us successful at Texas is our legislative program and what we're doing at the State House. And then, like I said earlier, if our members aren't personally utilizing that, then we have to make sure they know what we're doing. So through social media, mainly, we are putting information out of what the state association is doing in the State House, what we're doing in other communities. We've worked a case in Mission, Texas, a cancer case down there with one of our members that we did a big media push down there. Ended up meeting with the city, doing media or a press conference after our meeting with the city.
Let me butt in, if I may, just for a second. I want to push on you on this because I mentioned Harvey, and I'm very curious. Do our members have a healthy understanding of the significant resources directly brought to our members during that disaster, including vaccinations, cots, chainsaws, mucking teams. I mean, do you feel like Texas understands what their union brought to the table?
Yes, sir, I think so. And in that operation, we had our communications director there that daily was putting out information of what the international and what the state association was doing in that effort and in that operation. That was one of the smoothest operations I've ever been involved in. After 31 years in the fire service, that was probably the smoothest operation that I've personally been part of. And I think we did a good job during that, getting that information out to our members and letting our members know what they had available to them.
That's the key. And Will, I want to come back to you again. Florida, you know, great locals, large, medium, small, hundreds of them. What's your sense in how you, as a local leader, but knowing that you're also a field rep and doing organizing, like in Georgia, where you're working in an environment to convince firefighters why they should be a part of this IAFF. Tell me a little bit about that and how you think that those skills and tools may be of value as it relates to Janus if it's decided against us.
Absolutely. One thing we do, and I'm from the 12th, but what we try to do is when we go out and deal with these locals that call for service or call for help, we make sure we teach them how to do these things. You know, Walt Dix always tells me you got to go in there and teach them how to fish, so when we leave, they can continue to be able to do that.
Let me push a little bit, but that's with the leadership to teach them how to operate.
Yes.
But I'm asking about the membership on the floor, the extent that you're communicating with them or not. You're organizing unorganized firefighters, as I said in Georgia. That needs to be a message that brings firefighters saying, I want to be in this union.
Yeah, we show them that added value we talked about earlier. We're showing them what the international has to offer, what their local has to offer. We're showing them the value in being a part of it. In Florida, that's not as challenging for us because we know all the different things that it takes. You talked about the storms, you know, being a part of that disaster relief team, seeing what the international could bring. I take that experience, and when I'm in Georgia and other places, I make them aware of that. This organization can really bring everything it takes to make a difference in their life. Georgia's been a tremendous success story. We're talking about the 30 percentile, say in Atlanta, all the way up to 60+ percentile now.
And let me ask you, I know technology. I'm so thrilled, and we are so committed at the international with our technological capability. But to what extent? A lot of this, doesn't it take talking to a firefighter one-on-one?
Absolutely.
You know, personal interaction.
Yeah, you're going to have to make those station visits. You're going to have to identify who is not on the roll on your roster, and you're going to have to, make those visits to come out and talk to them and find out what's going on. A lot of times when we visit, people just simply say they didn't know. Yeah. They didn't know, and a lot of times we do visits. They'll tell you they don't know what the international offers. So, again, like I said in Atlanta, we have someone that just went to the Political Training Academy. That's huge. We just ran 16 different local races there in just that one city, and the local was successful in 13 of those.
Well, what are your thoughts? And just everybody jump in, because we're talking about organizing firefighters that are not in the IAFF, which, by the way, we're proud to be the highest organized trade job in North America. But we still have those that haven't made that decision yet. You said you got to go to the stations.
Yes, sir.
All right. My question is, for locals that exist, is our leadership understanding, or do you actually, on a regular basis, how do you engage your members on a more personal level, understanding the power of technology and social networks, and Matt, how you so clearly articulated the various platforms that can be used. But is our leadership going to also have to learn to get back out in those stations and sit at this table?
I think there's a lot of layers to this, and this is something I've learned, in the time I've worked with our state association, is you have to continually push out a baseline of information. And if there's one thing I've definitely learned is that you could have 5 guys sitting at a kitchen table, and one of them wants to get his information from the IAFF magazine. He wants to get it from email. You're going on a website on a computer. You're going on Facebook. You're going on Twitter. And I naively thought I could convert everybody, to sort of one platform, and that's not the case. And you find that certain audiences, certain demographics, they just prefer one thing or the other, which is fine. We have all of these tools at our disposal. It's just a lot of work to curate them all and to put the proper content in the proper places in a way that generates engagement. But all of that is just a base level. That's just a constant, presence. Where if you really want to make, if you want to find out if people are getting the message, you have to go and sit with them. You have to talk to them. You have to make sure, and not only are they getting the message, which I find out a lot, is we've got a lot of layers. We've got a lot of filters. So a local president, a local delegate might be getting information, but for whatever reason, for lack of knowledge, lack of technology, a culture in their local where information got hoarded in an executive board, which is something I see a lot, that does not get down to the members. So you have to continuously reinforce all of the technology platforms, whether that's print or the various kind of digital ones, with face-to-face meetings, because you can't be sure that the information is getting up and down the chain all the time.
Ideally, it sounds great, but how about when we're talking about locals of significant size? What's the practicality, the reality? How does one address that?
It's a challenge. I mean, we're not the largest local out there, but we 26 firehouses, 3-unit days. There's 78 firehouse visits. If you try to, okay, well, we'll do one a week. Well, that's going to take you a year and a half just to get through them once.
Right.
So it's a challenge, but it's something that you need to dedicate yourself to. And maybe you can't get it to the firehouse. Maybe you go into a training. When you have a district drill, a district training. The face-to-face, the one-on-one communication, I don't think that can be overstated enough how valuable that is. Because what I find is you're going to have, the fire service, we have this broad spectrum of our union members, to the most adamant supporters and advocates to, I'm a member because everybody else is and I don't want to be out of the club, so to speak. Yeah. Those are those members, though, where you get that opportunity, where you can get to them, and to your point, really speak to them about what it is that the union does, what it is that the IAFF does, because you'll find that we offer so much, whether, like I said, local, state, or international level. There's so many services and things that we've done that we affect every single member in one way or another. We'd like to think it's obvious what we do. It's very obvious. Hey, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You have benefits for your family. We'd like to think that's the obvious, but we're finding we have to go beyond the obvious, and we have to sit there and say, well, hey, at the state level, this is what we were able to do. We just got presumptive cancer legislation in the state of Ohio. We just recently had a member that's been fighting cancer for 9 years. Never thought in a million years that they would ever get covered by workers' comp. And they just won this victory last week to where they were covered under this presumptive cancer legislation. We need to get that message out to that members, and that is through that one-on-one. And we say, you know what, I hear your point, and I'm not here to try to change you on your beliefs on X, Y, or Z. Some of the things we've talked about and you've spoken about at convention. But let's talk about taking your paycheck home every 2 weeks and how you're able to provide for your family and how you're able to send your son or daughter to this school. And this is what we're able to do. And you may not be supportive or may not be an advocate for some of these things that we do, but this is what the union is doing for you. And as long as you can see the value in that, you have to be almost reserved to say that's good enough. And the members, they get it. And I've never run into a member where I couldn't connect with them on some level, on some issue of what we've done as a local, as a union, to provide that person that value to them or their family. We affect literally everything, every aspect of their life.
Well, let me put, as we're wrapping up, this has really gone so quick. I mean, we could do this for a long time. No, this has been so, very interesting, informative. Hopefully the audience is finding it helpful and useful. But let me ask each of you as we're wrapping up, your own view, candidly, taking into account what I said at the beginning, who we are, our culture, our work environment, our union, and what it's done. What do you think the impact of Janus will be from your perspective and experience?
Well,
I'll start with you.
It's through every challenge is an opportunity, and we said it earlier, it's an opportunity for us. I honestly think it's going to, as a leader in the local, it's going to really make us step up to the next level. They're again a state that had strong collective bargaining. It's going to make us step up to really push what we do back out to the members. But I think it's going to bring our local actually together. I think it's going to bring us stronger, bring us back to where we may have been back in the 70s and 80s when our brothers and sisters back then were fighting for our rights, seeing what they went through. I think it's going to bring us back to that level of where they're really going to have to step up and push for some of these things that maybe we've taken for granted.
Will?
Yes, I too agree with that. It's going to make us stronger. I think when we can identify where the genesis of this came from and where we used to be as an organization and how we tell our members and our brothers and sisters that we don't want to go back there. So it's an opportunity. I think it'll make us stronger. We'll highlight the fact that there are locals and states already dealing with some version of this, and they're thriving. They've been successful legislatively through the contractual process, membership growth. Again, no weapon formed against us.
John?
I agree with what they have to say, and for us in Texas, this is not as scary maybe as it is for others. I know our brothers in Ohio and in New Jersey, it's a change for how they operate. It's not a change for us. We've been doing this, and so we're here to help, and hopefully we can provide some assistance if anybody needs it around the state or around the country rather. Let us know, because we can give you some ideas on how to operate in that environment.
Jim?
I think it will be it's another source of conflict that we've never had to deal with that I think will get introduced to some of our firehouse kitchen tables, and that's something we're going to have to get over. But on the other hand, I agree with all this. It's an opportunity, especially it's going to make some of our locals who maybe have historically taken for granted their membership, taken for granted communications, taken for granted customer service. It's going to make them have to up their game, and I think if collectively everyone's up in their game, it's ironically going to make us a stronger organization.
Well, and my sense is that we are a union that has always been more successful when we meet the toughest challenges. And we've always been able to step up to the plate, perform, deliver. And so I see this as really just maybe, as you kind of said, Will, allowing us to really up our game as well as we perform now. I think it'll just kind of help push us to perform at a little higher level. And for everybody out there that's joined us today, the IAFF has so many resources. We have training resources, communication resources. There'll be many forums that you'll be able to attend and participate in going forward. And I would encourage you, as you're facing a challenge or you need and want to access these resources, just go through your district vice president. They are the path to every service, tool, resource that this IAFF has to offer. And for those in leadership out there, that's exactly what we do. And that is to provide you everything you need to be as successful as you can be. And with that, I think we're going to see our union continue to grow as opposed to beginning to dwindle. So to everybody out there, let us hear from you, and do one thing, as we always say to each other: stay safe out there.